Now let's bring in Republican Senator from Tennessee, Marsha Blackburn, also a candidate for governor. Senator, welcome.
Good to be with you. Thank you.
So there are calls to send in federal authorities potentially into red states too, including Louisiana and even possibly Tennessee. Your state Senate Democratic leader is against that, saying, quote, Memphis doesn't need more political theater. We need real partnerships, real investment, and real solutions, not a military occupation led by people who have never lived a day in our neighborhoods. As potentially the next governor of Tennessee, would you welcome federal resources in hard-hit areas of Tennessee in terms of crime? And what's your reaction?
Yes, Mike, actually, the FBI and Kash Patel have surged resources into Memphis, and they are apprehending gang leaders and gang members. This is a very good thing. It is helping to make Memphis safer, and I am grateful to Director Patel. You know, when he came before us for our Judiciary Committee hearing, the first thing I brought up with him was the importance of getting an FBI presence on the ground. And you know, when you have cities where they're practicing the soft on crime policies, and it's your DAs and your judges, and they're not prosecuting these criminals, they're letting them go, and then people in the community are saying, let's get more resources in here to apprehend them. Memphis is getting those, and if it becomes necessary for the National Guard to go in, of course, I would support doing that. You see how well that has turned out in D.C. I mean, you've got now the mayor, the city council saying having the presence of the Guard, allowing law enforcement to go apprehend and then put these people in jail to hold them. And Mike, I will add, this is important too, that we have to end these cashless bail policies. And I'm grateful to President Trump for putting an executive order out on that, and I have legislation we've introduced that would end it not only in D.C., but also in some of these blue cities. If they're going to continue with cashless bail and allow these criminals with murder, rape, violent crime charges against them back out on the streets, then let's restrict their federal law enforcement funds.
There's been a back and forth this weekend between President Trump and Illinois Governor Pritzker. Senator Dick Durbin also sounds upset. Let's play him and I'll get you to react.
The terrible things that the President of the United States is saying about using troops in the Department of War in the city of Chicago is an embarrassment and disgusting.
Considering the crime in Chicago, are you surprised by the pushback?
It is so astounding to me that these Democrat leaders who, under Joe Biden, had absolutely nothing to say about illegal immigration and wanted to defund the police, now are upset that President Trump is going to put federal law enforcement into these communities and help people protect their property and their lives. And Mike, you know, it is appropriate. People want to feel safe. And isn't it interesting that people are saying, please, President Trump, we'd love to have some backup and some help. Law enforcement saying the same thing, but it is the elected officials that have supported soft on crime, leftist policies, defund the police. They're the ones that are saying, oh, no, 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 there's no crime here. And of course, you talk with any citizen and they'll tell you differently. Actually, I have not talked to one single person that wants Tren de Aragua, MS-13, or any other of these gangs to move into their neighborhood, to set up an operation in a house. They don't want pedophiles, and they don't want these people coming into their communities. They want them apprehended. They want them removed.
The Justice Department's also backing a bill from you protecting children from gender mutilation. I spoke with a doctor who is a supporter. Yes. Let's play him and I'll get you to respond.
We do have a growing number of people who have gone through chemical or surgical changes and who are now trying to detransition or wanting to do that. we have more and more people with this transition regret, as we say. And it's important that we recognize that these people need help.
If your legislation passes, Senator, how would it work? What would be the impact?
Yes, what it would do for these physicians and institutions that are marketing the chemical and surgical mutilation of children, of minors, then there would be penalties placed on them. You cannot market this as gender affirming care, and it's important that we begin to put some restrictions around that.
This Tuesday, your subcommittee in Senate Judiciary will hear from a Meta whistleblower, the social media giant.
Yes.
What are your expectations, Senator?
We're going to be looking at these chatbots and virtual reality, and we have whistleblowers. I've had the opportunity to sit down with a couple of them. Meta knows exactly what they are doing. They know precisely the harms that are happening. You have people in the company that have tried to warn the Meta leadership team and C-suite what this is doing to the mental health of our children. They have ignored it because they're more interested in making a buck off of our kids, and they want them to be online. They're the product when they are online, and it is disgusting what they are doing to our children. So yes, indeed, Tuesday, I will chair that hearing. We're looking forward to having the whistleblowers before us and hearing what they have to say about the inner workings that are taking place at Meta as you're looking at virtual reality and the chatbots. And Mike, it's important to realize many times when you look at the psychological and physiological reaction to some of what they are seeing in virtual reality, it is the same as if they were seeing that or having it take place against them. And so we're hearing from child psychiatrists and psychologists and pediatricians and parents and teachers of what is happening to children with this activity. And of course, this is one of the reasons it is so imperative that we pass the Kids Online Safety Act and put some restrictions and some accountability on social media platforms.
Senator Marsha Blackburn of the great state of Tennessee, I look forward to seeing you up here on the Hill soon. Safe travels this week.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.